The International Newsnet World Report is a national television news show available in more than 30 million homes. We broadcast daily real news the networks won't tell you. We are solely viewer-supported. That means you. You can donate at our website, inenworldreport.net. We hope you find the following interview informative and helpful.
When people talk of conspiracy theories, they often think of the Kennedy assassination. There is the official version, and in the Kennedy case, a well-unified theorist version. Many books and films have been written about the theorist version, most notably Oliver Stone's movie JFK. In 1998, the National Archives under the Clinton administration released all the related documents that had been gathered by the Assassination Records Review Board to the Miller Reporting Company. The newly released information supports the theorist version of events and not the official story. The president of Miller Reporting, Paul Kunstler, made every effort to get this new information published, including meetings with the Washington Post and most recently, a two-page ad in the A section of Tuesday's New York Times. Paul Kunstler now joins us from Washington, D.C. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you.
Paul, first question, what did an ad like that cost?
I'm afraid it was a lot of money, $196,500.
Now, what is Miller Reporting Company, and what is the relationship to the government? And was Miller the first company to have access, the first people to have access to this info?
Well, we were a court reporting and tape transcription company. We reported, for the Senate and the House, and depositions for lawyers, arbitrations. One of the famous cases that we reported was the Monica Lewinsky deposition, the Microsoft monopoly trial, United States versus Richard Nixon, the Supreme Court hearing on July 8, 1970, that resulted in Richard Nixon's resignation as President of the United States.
Paul, what is the most damning of the new information that you discovered?
The most damning of the new information is this. On Monday, November 9, 1998, the archives released to the public all the working files of the Assassination Records Review Board and its staff, covering the recently completed 4-year effort of that independent federal agency to find and release government records related to the Kennedy assassination. Among the internal records released that day was a 32-page research paper written by AARB's chief analyst for military records, which provide compelling evidence that there were two different brain specimens following the autopsy on the body of JFK. President Kennedy.
This is a government file. This is not. This is a file released from the government. This
Correct.
is not an independent investigator's latest evidence.
President Kennedy, as expected, and a fraudulent substituted brain specimen substituted at a later day, and that the brain photographs in the National Archives today in the so-called autopsy collection of Kennedy's are images of someone else's, all photographic efforts, all photographic records of President Kennedy's brain have disappeared since its pattern of damage was consistent with being shot from the front. The images of the substituted specimen shows damage generally consistent with the official version of what happened of being shot from above and behind.
Paul, the New York Times, it's considered the paper of record. Did they have any factual qualification standards which they needed to run such a controversial ad?
Well, they negotiated with me through my agency to make 21 changes in the ad. They were mainly related to possible libel considerations. They were particularly concerned about Pepsi-Cola, one of their advertisers. And they excluded, so I was asked to remove a key point in the ad regarding Pepsi-Cola.
I remember one of the things that struck me most was that you told of a reporter named Connie Kritzberg from the Dallas Times-Herald who interviewed the two principal doctors, and both doctors told stories of multiple gunshot wounds from the front and the back, and then she certainly expressed alarm when her copy was changed. Was this ever verified, the original copy?
Yes, it was. She was interviewed on film in the Men Who Killed Kennedy, the final chapter of Volume 1. And I believe she's still living, because this was just done in the early part of 2000.
Another thing that was fairly alarming in the report was the KGB intelligence report saying that President Lyndon Baines Johnson was actually behind the assassination. Now, there have been a lot of things, including a statement from one of Johnson's lawyers, and of course the family has vehemently denied this. What is the latest word on that?
I have that report right in front of me. The Assassination Records Review Board received that from the Russians. Well, it's very interesting reading. The key paragraph in the report reads that on September 16th, this same source reported that the KGB residency in New York City received instructions approximately September 16, 1965, from KGB headquarters in Moscow to develop all possible information concerning President Lyndon B. Johnson's character, background, personal friends, family, and which quarters he derives his support in his position as President of the United States. Our source added that in the instructions from Moscow, it was indicated that now KGB was in possession of data purporting to indicate that President Johnson was responsible for the assassination of the late President John F. Kennedy. That's the key paragraph, but it goes on for 14 pages.
Paul, you say that Oliver Stone's movie JFK is 90% accurate, and then you talk about not one, but 8 assassins and 6 shots fired. Are there any historians, accredited historians, who are willing to put their reputations online to back up this assertion? This has been one of the sticking points of getting more people on board with the Kennedy assassination story.
Oh, yes, there are many serious researchers. There are over 2,000 books published on the assassination. People have spent their life doing research on the assassination. There are many, many people. My research was basically a reflection of what others were doing. I added some things to myself, but it was primarily built on a foundation of research that since Mark Lane published his landmark book in 1966, Rush to Judgment. I will say, I only found 2 errors in Oliver Stone's film JFK. The first one was minor. There were 3 women coming down the stairwell rather than 2. But the second one was really quite significant. And he showed Oswald buying the Coke after he was confronted by Marion Baker in